Tony D and Little Joan somewhere in the background, and this is a screenwriter's rant on Curse of the Sin Eater, a horror movie about a poor construction worker who's doing a job when a billionaire tells him that he'll give him everything if he just eats a meal off his dead body, which he does, and he gets his money, but more than he bargained for. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 15. Available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Gruesome. Gruesome. So, the idea is the billionaire was a sin eater. And he has all these sins, and then by eating a meal all over his dead body, you consume his sins and take them in. And the only way to get rid of them is if you die. Okay, interesting. Written by Adam Davis and Will Corona Pilgrim, directed by Justin Denton. This strikes me as a movie that has a very strong title, a pretty strong concept, but the question is, can the execution live up to that? It sounds badass, right? He eats sin eater. There was actually a Marvel Comics villain called the Sin Eater. I don't know how that's a thing, really. Here he is eating the sin. That's a billionaire. So, it sounds cool as hell. But, like, what do you do with the concept is the question. And they don't really show you too much other than what obviously is going to happen. So, first act, he's a poor construction worker. He's barely getting by. Gets this job at a billionaire's house. And then stumbles into his office at some point during the job. Barely gets on the job. And then, you know, the owner calls him in. Hey, son, come in here. And then they start talking, and he makes him a deal. Says, you could have everything since I'm going to die, but you have to eat a meal off my dead corpse. Bizarre, but okay, says the poor young man. So second act, he does it, and he gets all the money, and his life has changed. He's got a chauffeur. His girlfriend's like, what the hell's going on? And now he's a billionaire. But he starts immediately having weird visions of horrible things. And then his staff explains, well, you're the sin eater now. So you ate his sins, and now you've taken them off. And he's like, what? I didn't know that was part of the deal. Obviously it was. You're in a movie called Curse of the Sin Eater. So he's cursed now. And he starts seeing things. See, this is where the rubber hits the road. Like, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a sin eater, and how does it... That's the part of the movie that the movie makers really got to come through on. Like, what are the rules here? It's very important they have rules that make sense. Like, how does he eat sin? Right? Does it happen all the time? Does it only happen under very specific circumstances? And they say in the trailer, the only way to purge himself of the sins is to die, which is weird because it's like, so why eat the sins in the first place? How did this all start? Doesn't quite make sense. Is there some way for him to purge the sins from his body, that so he's not haunted by them? And what does it mean to eat sin? Like, is he haunted by the ghosts of people he's wronged? Or is it something even more metaphysical? So that's the fascinating part that the filmmakers can explore in this. Judging by the trailer, it looks like they're taking their good old time, which is not necessarily a good thing. They should probably get to the meat of this, I would say, in under 20 minutes, which wouldn't be too hard. I mean, his life as a poor construction worker, I don't need to see much of it. You know? Everybody's been poor at one point, just about. cut to the chase, I say. The interesting part will be him trying to figure out this Sin Eater aspect of his life now and how to overcome it. And, of course, through the second act, he's going to get more and more put upon by these sins. And then in the third act, he's going to find out a way to perhaps metaphorically die or temporarily die and purge himself of all the sins. But he probably loses all the money. Just a guess. It depends on how they portray his character, right? So if he's portrayed as an altruistic guy who, you know, he didn't really ask for this, but it sort of, you know, he needs the money to help his friends and family maybe. He's kind of a nice guy. Then I think the ending of the movie will be they come up with a way to purge him of the Sin Eater curse. If, however, he's not a nice guy, he took the money because he's a greedy effer, then the end of the movie will be something like he'll never get rid of the curse until he dies, and he realizes that and realizes his life is going to be horrible, which would kind of be a downer of an ending, quite frankly, and you could kind of come to that in less than 90 minutes. So I'm kind of leaning towards the former, but maybe. I like that they're taking chances with, I mean, they're not doing just a werewolf thing or a vampire thing, right? They're doing something kind of different. Curse of the Sin Eater. And they get to define what sin eating means in the film. So that aspect of it is interesting and exciting to me because they get to play around with that and create the rules. We already know the rules with a vampire or a werewolf or a lot of other monsters. So show us the rules and then show us something interesting with those rules. So would I see this? Yeah, probably go see it. I mean, I wouldn't probably go to the theater for it. Maybe I'd wait for a review, but definitely would catch it on streaming. Here's the write-up. Rick, a poor construction worker, makes a deal with a dying business mogul to inherit his billions. Rick soon discovers the deal also means that he has been cursed to inherit the man's terrifying sins. So I guess it's just his sins, the billionaire's sins. But they also say in the trailer he was a sin eater too. Doesn't that mean he also acquired the sins of the previous sin eater to get his money in the first place? That would also be something to explore. This also feels like it could be a TV show, right? Could be a kind of show where, like, the sin eater has to purge himself of individual sins and then has to explore the past. And maybe a character whose sin he's eaten, or maybe he eats the sin of people in order to save them and they become better people, but then he has to deal with their sins. Something like that. Interesting. Curse of the Sin Eater. Sounds like a good movie for the fall. No word on when this is coming out. But not bad. And that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan, somewhere in the house. Thanks for tuning in. I will be at Shoreline Vintage on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. for the outdoor market there. Should be a nice day. Food trucks inbound as well. Hope to see you there. We'll see you in the next one.